My parents showed up at dinner with legal papers, claiming my sister would run my clinic and take the profits. I opened my briefcase, handed them clause 4.3, and watched my dad freeze in shock. You know that moment when you walk into a room and every fiber of your being screams danger? That's exactly how it felt stepping into my parents' house. The air was charged, thick with a stillness that promised a storm, and their smiles, Mom's too wide, Dad's handshake a touch too firm, were a dead giveaway. And then there was Autumn, my sister, practically vibrating with this conspiratorial glee, her eyes darting between our parents like she was holding the winning lottery ticket. "Sierra, honey, so glad you made it," Mom chirped, guiding me towards the dining room with an unusual press on my back. The table, of course, was picture perfect. Mom's best china, crystal glasses, fresh flowers. They'd planned this. Oh, they had planned this carefully. I took my usual seat across from Autumn, whose smug smile instantly brought back a childhood memory, her at 8, watching me about to sit on a whoopee cushion she'd hidden. Dad carved the roast beef with his usual precision while Mom dished out all my childhood favorites, and that's when I saw it. A manila folder, tucked beside Dad's plate, its corner peeking out like a taunting secret. My stomach clenched. "How's the clinic?" Mom asked, her voice artificially bright. "Still working those crazy hours?" I kept my answer short, watching Dad's eyes flick to the folder. "Business is good. We've increased our patient load by 20% this quarter." Autumn snorted softly. "All those patients, but such a tiny waiting room. Someone should really upgrade your office management." Suddenly, the pieces clicked. It was a puzzle I desperately wished I couldn't solve. Dad cleared his throat, setting down his fork with a deliberate clink that echoed in the charged silence. "Sierra, we've been thinking about the future of your clinic." I froze mid-bite, the food turning to sawdust in my mouth. Mom jumped in, smooth as silk, like they'd rehearsed every single line. "Family businesses need family management, dear. Your father and I have been discussing how to keep healing hands in the family long term." "It's not a family business," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I built it myself." With our support, Dad countered, reaching for the folder. "And now Autumn has an excellent proposal that will benefit everyone." My sister practically preened, straightening in her chair. "I've worked up a business plan to become your practice manager. I'd handle all the boring paperwork stuff while you focus on patients." She leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "I'm only asking for a 25% profit share, which is really reasonable considering all the growth I'll bring." My heart hammered in my ears. This wasn't Sunday dinner. This was an ambush. And just like that, the memories flooded back. Double shifts at the hospital cafeteria during physical therapy school. Sending money home to help Autumn through her freshman year while I ate ramen in a one-room apartment furnished with curbside rescues. Midnight study sessions after 14-hour clinical rotations. The $187,000 in student loans that still drained my checking account every single month. "I already have a clinic manager," I stated, the steadiness in my voice surprising even me. Mom waved her hand dismissively. "But Autumn is the real people person. Remember how she charmed Dr. Wilson at your clinic opening? He barely noticed you were there." Oh, I remembered. Just like I remembered Dad dismissing my academic honors at graduation. "Book smarts don't build practices, Sierra," while photographing Autumn in my cap and gown. I remembered Autumn's temporary help at the front desk last summer, unauthorized discounts to her sorority sisters, weeks of apologizing to patients after her scheduling mix-ups left some waiting hours and others turned away entirely. "May I see what you've prepared?" I asked, nodding towards the folder. Dad slid it across the table with a satisfied smile. "It's already been drawn up by my attorney. Just needs your signature." Autumn clapped her hands. "I can start tomorrow. I already have ideas for redecorating your office." I took a deliberate sip of water, then set the glass down precisely on its coaster. With slow, measured movements, I reached for my own briefcase, resting beside my chair. "Before we discuss this further," I said, "there's something you should see." In the weighted silence, I unlocked my briefcase with a click that echoed like a gunshot. Dad's confident smile faltered as I withdrew a leather portfolio, the expensive one I'd splurged on after landing the contract with Denver Sports Medicine, a silent reminder of successes achieved without their help. "What's this?" Dad's voice held the faint tremor of a man unaccustomed to surprises. Mom glanced nervously between him and Autumn, her fingers fidgeting with her napkin. Autumn's triumphant smile began to wilt around the edges as I carefully arranged my documents on the table, aligning them with the precision I bring to patient treatment plans. 3 weeks ago, I signed a management services agreement with Colorado Healthcare Partners, I announced, tapping the top page where their corporate logo sprawled across the letterhead. "They're managing all administrative aspects of Healing Hands going forward." Dad reached for the papers, his brow furrowed. "You can't make decisions like this without consulting family." "Actually, I can." I slid another document towards him. "I've highlighted Section 4.3 for your convenience. No family members may be employed in management positions without unanimous board approval. The board consists of myself and 2 partners from CHP." Autumn's face flushed crimson. "You did this on purpose." "I made a business decision," I maintained, locking eyes with my sister. "One based on previous experience." From my portfolio, I extracted a folder containing patient complaint forms, all meticulously organized by date. "These are from last summer when you worked at the clinic." I didn't need to open it. The thickness spoke volumes. 15 scheduling errors resulting in double-booked treatment rooms. 23 unauthorized discounts, including 8 to your sorority sisters. 31 billing code errors that nearly triggered an insurance audit. Mom reached across the table, her fingers stopping just short of touching mine. "Sierra, honey, everyone makes mistakes when they're learning." "These weren't learning mistakes," I said, standing slowly, finding unexpected power in towering over my seated family. These were careless mistakes made by someone who thought rules didn't apply to her. I withdrew another document, this one created by my accountant. "This itemizes the $42,000 in free treatments provided to this family over the past 3 years. Dad's rotator cuff rehabilitation. Mom's plantar fasciitis. Autumn's sports massages before her beach vacations." The stunned silence was vindication. Their expressions shifted from entitled certainty to uncomfortable shock. "While I covered your healthcare needs," I continued, "I was eating ramen noodles to make my student loan payments. I worked double shifts at the hospital cafeteria to help fund Autumn's freshman year. When you said you couldn't afford both our education simultaneously, I locked eyes with my father. I slept on treatment tables when I couldn't afford both rent and malpractice insurance." My phone buzzed with a text. I glanced down to see. My clinic manager's message. "Did you tell them yet?" The timing couldn't have been more perfect. It was a reminder that I wasn't alone anymore. My staff had witnessed Autumn's summer of chaos, staying late to fix her mistakes while she posted Instagram photos from rooftop happy hours. They knew the truth behind the Bennett family dynamics. My mentor warned me years ago that family and business mix like oil and water, I said, remembering Dr. Winter's concerned expression when she caught me crying in the supply closet after Dad missed my clinic's grand opening. I should have listened sooner. I gathered my documents with deliberate precision, sliding them back into my portfolio in the exact order they'd be needed if this conversation escalated further. The methodical movement calmed me, just like organizing treatment supplies before a difficult patient session. "We can negotiate." Dad's voice had lost its authoritative edge, replaced by the tone he used when a business deal started slipping away. 20% instead of 25. A trial period. I closed my portfolio with a snap. "My clinic isn't your piggy bank. It's my career." Mom's hand flew to her throat, a dramatic gesture she'd perfected over years of family conflicts. "I never thought you'd put business before family," she whispered. The statement hung between us, revealing everything wrong with their perspective. In their minds, my success existed to benefit them. My clinic represented not my achievement, but their opportunity. "I'm not putting business before family," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt inside. "I'm putting boundaries before exploitation." Autumn pushed back from the table, her chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "You've always been so dramatic, Sierra, acting like you did everything yourself when we've always supported you." "Supported me?" I raised an eyebrow. "When exactly?" Was it during my graduation when Dad was taking photos of you in my cap and gown? Or when Mom told Dr. Wilson I was just the medical person at my own clinic opening? The memories surfaced like air bubbles in water, quick, sharp, impossible to stop once they started rising. Remember my 12th birthday when I got a card while Autumn received a new bicycle? Or my high school valedictorian ceremony where no family members attended because Autumn had a cold? I zipped my briefcase closed. Your support has always been conspicuously absent when it mattered. Dad stood now too, his height no longer intimidating as it had been throughout my childhood. You've changed, Sierra. Success has made you cold. No, I met his gaze without flinching. Success has made me visible, and you don't know what to do with a daughter you can't ignore. I lifted my briefcase from the chair, surprised by how light it felt compared to the weight I'd carried for years. For the first time since entering their house, I took a deep breath that didn't hurt my chest. I'll see myself out. I turned towards the door, then paused. Oh, and starting next month, family treatments will be billed at standard rates. Our charity program is reserved for patients who can't afford care, not those who simply prefer not to pay. Behind me, I heard my mother's shocked intake of breath, my father's muttered curse, and Autumn's theatrical sob. But for once, their reactions didn't pull me back into the familiar dance of appeasement. I stepped out into the evening air where my phone buzzed with another message from my clinic manager. We're all here for you. And for the first time in my life, I truly believed it. That night, alone in my apartment, my mind kept replaying all those moments, painting a clearer picture of everything that had led to that dinner. My 12th birthday. A Tuesday in April, unremarkable except for the math test I aced and the single card propped against my cereal bowl. 2 weeks later, Autumn turned 10. She got a gleaming teal bicycle, streamers on the handlebars, a wicker basket for neighborhood treasures. I watched from the porch as she circled the driveway, our parents clapping with each wobbly lap. Sierra, take a picture of your sister. Dad called, tossing me his camera. This is a milestone. I captured Autumn's beaming face, her hair catching sunlight as Dad studied the bike. Mom waved a handkerchief like she was sending off royalty. Remember when I got my first bike? I asked Mom later, helping with dishes. She paused, sponge suspended. You were a practical child, Sierra. You always wanted books instead. But I hadn't. I'd circled bikes and catalogs for 3 years running. High school graduation. Valedictorian. Science medal. Full academic scholarship to Colorado State. The auditorium buzzed with proud parents. Mine arrived 7 minutes after my speech, slipping into back row seats as I returned to mine. Traffic was terrible, Mom whispered when they finally found me afterward, empty-handed. But we're here for Autumn's dance recital tonight. You're coming, right? The pattern continued through college. Dean's List certificates arrived by mail at our family home, while I worked double shifts at the hospital cafeteria. The envelopes remained sealed on the kitchen counter for weeks. When physical therapy school graduation finally arrived, I stood alone after the ceremony until Autumn waved from across the quad. There you are. She grabbed my mortarboard. Dad wants pictures of me in this. You don't mind, right? For 20 minutes, I watched my parents photograph my sister wearing my hard-earned cap, their backs to my honors cords, and the diploma case clutched in my hands. Book smarts don't build practices, Sierra, Dad said later, returning my cap without meeting my eyes. For years after graduation, I was hunched over my laptop at midnight, the clinic dark except for my office light. Loan statements glared from the screen, $187,000 remaining, monthly payments larger than my rent. Meanwhile, I'd just transferred $1,200 to Autumn for her temporary housing crisis, following her 4th job change in 2 years. My apartment? Still furnished with roadside rescues. The sound of my stomach growling echoed in the empty clinic. The bank manager's voice still rang in my ears from that morning. Without a cosigner or additional collateral, Miss Bennett, we simply can't approve this business expansion loan. I'd nodded politely, tucking the rejection letter beside the others, not mentioning my parents had refused to cosign, yet bought Autumn a new car the previous month because she needs reliable transportation for interviews. That night, the treatment table became my bed. I curled onto the paper-covered vinyl, wrapping myself in a patient blanket after 16 hours of appointments and paperwork. The cleaning crew found me there at 5 a.m., still clutching spreadsheets. 6 months later, when Healing Hands physical therapy finally opened in its own space, not just a rented room, my parents stopped by for 15 minutes between Autumn's bridal shower and their dinner reservation. "It's nice," Mom said, glancing at her watch, like a real doctor's office. Dad peered at my framed credentials. "Just remember, it's always about the people, not the degrees." They left before the small reception even began, missing the champagne toast from my 3-person staff and the ribbon-cutting photo for the local business journal. The summer Autumn decided to help out at the front desk became a professional nightmare. Her sorority sisters received unauthorized discounts. Regular patients found there. Appointments rescheduled or canceled. Insurance forms piled up until I found them stuffed into desk drawers at midnight. They were so boring, Autumn explained when confronted. Besides, they're just old people with Medicare. They don't have anywhere important to be. After she left, I spent weeks making personal calls, rebuilding trust one apology at a time. The turning point came unexpectedly during a meeting with Blue Shield's regional provider representative. The stern-faced woman across my desk had rejected our previous 3 claim submissions. "Ms. Bennett, your documentation simply doesn't meet our standards for." I slid a folder across the desk, interrupting her practiced rejection. "These are revised protocols I developed specifically addressing your guidelines. I've cross-referenced each treatment code with your latest manual." Her eyebrows rose as she flipped through meticulously annotated pages. "You did this yourself?" "Every night for 3 weeks." Her assessment was blunt. "Most providers just argue or give up." 3 days later, the insurance company approved our entire claims backlog. Within months, physician referrals increased as word spread about our exceptional documentation and outcomes. The first profitable month arrived after 2 grueling years. I stared at the accounting software late one night, verifying the numbers 3 times before allowing myself to believe them. No one was there to celebrate with me, but for once, the silence felt like power rather than abandonment. I realized something profound as I locked up that night. My invisibility had become my superpower. While my family focused on Autumn's charm and social connections, I built something substantial in the shadows. The skills I developed through years of self-reliance, persistence, precision, strategic thinking, now served as the foundation for my growing business. Ellie Morgan, my clinic manager, proved this theory when she declined a hospital position, offering significantly more money to stay with Healing Hands. "They don't value people like you do," she told me, tearing up the offer letter. "I've worked in healthcare for 30 years, Sierra. What you're building here is special." When Autumn's scheduling disasters created chaos, my staff stayed late without complaint, ordering pizza and tackling the backlog together. "We've got this," Carlos, my lead therapist, assured me as midnight approached. "Your sister's interesting, but we're a team." Every Friday morning, our staff meeting began with each person sharing both challenges and victories. Every voice mattered, the cleaning staff included. It was a stark contrast to family gatherings where my input was routinely dismissed or interrupted. The call from Denver Rehabilitation Center's medical director came on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. "We've been watching your outcomes data." "Impressive," she said without preamble. "Our orthopedic department wants to discuss a specialized treatment partnership." That evening, we gathered in the clinic after hours, not for emergency rescheduling, but for celebration. 9 people now instead of the original 3, toasting with plastic cups and grocery store cake. To Sierra, Ellie called out, who saw possibilities while everyone else saw limitations. In the quiet after everyone left, I gently lifted my first business license from its frame, tracing the embossed seal with my fingertips. Tomorrow, I'd rehang it in the expanded reception area. A reminder that being overlooked sometimes allows you to build foundations no one expects to stand. 6 weeks after that confrontational dinner, I sat in my corner office. It offered a panoramic view of Denver's skyline, though I'd positioned my desk to face the treatment floor instead. Through the glass wall, I watched Meredith guide Mrs. Hoffman through her post-stroke exercises. Meredith's patience mirrored what I strived for with every patient, something my family never understood about healing. The contrast between my modest office and our state-of-the-art treatment areas wasn't accidental. While patients deserved cutting-edge equipment, I'd learned to function perfectly well with a second-hand desk and a simple chair. Every dollar saved was reinvested where it counted. I straightened the original Healing Hands therapy sign mounted on my wall, salvaged when we expanded last month from 3 treatment rooms to 15. From me alone to a team of 15 therapists who shared my vision of patient-first care. My phone vibrated for the 3rd time today. Mom again. I silenced it without looking. It would be like yesterday's and the day before, just checking in, honey, with a thinly veiled question about clinic operations or a subtle mention of Autumn's latest unemployment crisis. The calls had increased after I refused their dinner invitations for 6 consecutive weeks. Mom cycled between guilt, we never see you anymore, and false business interest, have you considered offering discounts to senior communities? Dad had attempted to contact my accountant directly last week, thankfully warned by my advance call explaining the situation. Their most desperate move came yesterday, when Autumn appeared unannounced during our busiest afternoon, waving a folder of incredible marketing ideas that miraculously required her full-time employment to implement. Mark, my front desk manager, followed protocol exactly, offered her a seat in the waiting room, and called me immediately. I didn't interrupt my patient session. The afternoon sun warmed my face as I opened my laptop, reading the email I'd drafted, deleted, and rewritten 14 times. It was measured, precise, and absolutely necessary. To my family, as I have already told you, after careful consideration, I'm establishing professional boundaries regarding Healing Hands therapy. The clinic remains closed to family employment or management input. All treatment services will be billed at standard rates. Business discussions are limited to my management team. I remain open to rebuilding our personal relationship, separate from my professional life. Sierra. My finger hovered over send as my office door opened. Carol, my clinic manager, appeared with 2 steaming mugs. Thought you might need reinforcements, she said, placing a coffee beside my laptop. I saw the social media post. I raised an eyebrow. Carol slid her phone across my desk. There was my mother's Facebook profile, featuring a photo from my clinic's opening day 3 years ago. Mom stood beside me, arm around my shoulder, a rare moment of apparent support I now recognized was performative. So proud of my daughter Sierra's vision with Healing Hands therapy. We've always believed in her healing touch. #ProudMama, #FamilyBusiness. The timestamp showed it was posted 20 minutes ago. The hashtag is interesting, Carol said carefully. Family business. The words tasted bitter. I clicked send on my email. They'd never paid $1 toward this clinic, never worked an hour here, never believed it would succeed until it did. Community's noticing the disconnect, Carol said. Dr. Reynolds mentioned it last week when he referred that complex shoulder case. Said he always sends patients here because you built something genuine, not handed down or gifted. Carol tapped my original business license frame. Said he appreciates how you acknowledge your team instead of bragging about your background. The staff meeting last Friday returned to mind, where I'd credited our growth to the team's dedication rather than my own vision. I'd noticed Autumn's friend Kimberly in the waiting room during the meeting, phone suspiciously angled toward our gathering. Which reminds me, I said, pulling up another email. The scholarship fund is approved. Starting next semester, we'll support 2 physical therapy students with demonstrated financial need. Carol smiled. Your mother called that wasteful charity when she overheard us discussing it. Exactly why it matters. I stood, stretching tired muscles. Any news from the accountant about their latest inquiry? Your father tried charm, then intimidation. Eventually left when Denise mentioned potential harassment charges. Carol's expression softened. There's something else. She pulled a handwritten note from her pocket. Your mother stopped by during lunch. When I explained you were at the Children's Hospital Clinic, she left this. The envelope bore my name and Mom's perfect cursive. Inside, tear-stained paper contained desperate pleas about family misunderstandings and missing my daughter. The final line requested a family meeting to heal old wounds at their house. Naturally, on their terms. My phone chimed with a text from Autumn. "Miss you, big sis. Can we talk? Just us?" Carol watched me process these latest maneuvers. "Your father's letter arrived in yesterday's mail, too. Very formal. Suggesting family mediation with his attorney present." I laughed without humor. The tables have turned. Their friends are asking questions. Community members are noticing discrepancies between their claims and reality. Through the window, I watched two therapists I'd hired from disadvantaged backgrounds, guiding patients with the skill and compassion I'd fostered in our clinic culture. The afternoon sun illuminated our expanded treatment floor, built from my vision, my labor, my persistence, despite years of family dismissal. "What will you tell them?" Carol asked. I placed the note in my desk drawer, joining other manipulative family communications I'd documented meticulously. "When they're ready for a relationship that doesn't involve exploiting my success," I said, "I'll listen. Until then, my priority is protecting what I've built." In the waiting room beyond my office, I noticed a familiar face, one of Autumn's sorority sisters who'd received unauthorized discounts last year. Today, she waited patiently, insurance card in hand, respect in her expression where entitlement once lived. The facade was crumbling. 2 weeks later, the morning air carried the scent of fresh coffee and possibility as I arrived at Cornerstone Cafe, 20 minutes early. My chosen battlefield, neutral territory, with just enough ambient noise for privacy without isolation. I selected a corner table with clear sightlines to both entrances and settled into the chair facing the door, an old habit from years of watching for their approval. I arranged my leather portfolio precisely in front of me, its weight reassuring. Inside rested every text, email, and financial record documenting our entangled history. Evidence collected not with malice, but with the same methodical care I applied to patient treatment plans. "Can I get you something while you wait?" The barista approached with a genuine smile, notepad ready. "Just black coffee, thank you." My voice sounded steadier than I felt. The ceramic mug arrived moments later, steam rising like the tension in my chest. Through the window, I spotted them walking from the parking lot. Dad's shoulders square beneath his golf polo, Mom fidgeting with her pearl necklace, Autumn's confident stride betrayed by her nervous glances at our parents. They'd coordinated their outfits in cream and tan tones, a united front. The bell above the door chimed as they entered. The moment they spotted me, their expressions shifted subtly. Dad's jaw tightened. Mom's smile froze. Autumn's eyes narrowed at the portfolio before me. "Sierra, honey." Mom reached to hug me, but I remained seated, forcing her to awkwardly pat my shoulder instead. "This is cozy." "We would have preferred dinner at home," Dad said, settling into the chair opposite mine. "Family matters should be discussed privately." "This isn't just a family matter." I tapped my finger on the portfolio. "This concerns my business." Autumn slid into the chair beside Dad, her perfume overwhelming the coffee aroma. "We brought muffins from that bakery you like." She pushed a paper bag toward me that I didn't touch. A waitress appeared, took their order, and disappeared with practiced efficiency. The moment she was gone, Dad leaned forward, hands clasped on the table. "Blood is thicker than water, Sierra." His voice dropped to that authoritative tone he used when I missed curfew at 17. "Family stands together, especially in business." Mom reached across to squeeze my wrist. "We've always been proud of you, sweetie, always. Your father and I tell everyone about our brilliant daughter, the doctor." "Physical therapist," I corrected automatically. "Doctor of physical therapy," Autumn added, with surprising accuracy before launching into her rehearsed speech. "Speaking of which, I've been thinking about our last conversation, and I realize I came on too strong, so I've drafted a new proposal." She produced a sleek tablet from her purse. "A consulting arrangement instead of management. 3 days a week, better social media presence, corporate client outreach." I took a deliberate sip of coffee, letting the bitter warmth fortify me. "Before we discuss any proposals, there's something you should know. The Hendersons asked me an interesting question at their anniversary party last weekend." The mention of our family friends caused all three to stiffen. They congratulated me on my family partnership and asked when you'd all joined my practice. I opened the portfolio, revealing a neatly organized collection of papers. They seemed surprised when I told them you weren't partners in my business. Dad's face flushed. We never said. I have screenshots of your Facebook posts mentioning our clinic and the family practice. I slid the printed pages toward him, and text messages from the Wilsons asking about the family business your mother mentioned at Bridge Club. Mom's face paled. Sierra, it's just expressions of pride. Is it? I withdrew another document. This is Dr. Reynolds' email asking why Dad contacted him about partnership opportunities for the clinic. The silence stretched between us, punctuated only by the hiss of the espresso machine and murmured conversations from nearby tables. You've been watching us. Autumn's voice carried a note of betrayal, as if I was the one who violated trust. I've been paying attention. I met her gaze steadily. The same attention I've given to building my practice while you were telling your sorority sisters they could get free treatments. Dad attempted to seize control of the conversation. We're getting sidetracked. We're here to discuss Autumn's role. Autumn will have no role in my clinic. The words came out with a calm certainty that surprised even me. Neither will you or Mom. Sierra. Mom's hand flew to her throat. After everything we've done for you. Everything you've done? I extracted a spreadsheet from my portfolio. Here's an itemized list of the free treatments I've provided to this family over 3 years. Market value, $42,735. Here are the loans I gave Autumn during my first 2 years of practice when I could barely make rent. $16,450, still unpaid. Autumn's face contorted. You said those were gifts. I said we'd figure it out later. It's later. Dad's businessman mask slipped for the first time. You can't possibly expect repayment after all you've what? I cut him off, voice level but firm. After you missed my doctoral hooding ceremony for Autumn's sorority fundraiser? After you told Dr. Wilson I was playing at business until I found a husband? After you dismissed my clinic opening as just another job? I placed my palms flat on the table, studying myself. These are my terms for any future relationship. First, my business decisions are mine alone. No input, no suggestions, no contacts with my colleagues. Second, any treatments for family will be billed at standard rates. Third, no more describing yourselves as partners or owners in my business. Mom's artificial composure crumbled. Tears welled in her eyes, genuine ones this time, not the performance drops she typically deploys. You can't mean this, she whispered. We're family. Family respects boundaries, I answered. Family celebrates achievements instead of trying to claim them. Dad's face darkened with frustration. This is absurd. We never thought you'd actually succeed on your own. We were trying to help secure your future. The truth slipped out so easily, so naturally, that he didn't even seem to realize what he'd admitted. After all these years, all my work, all my sacrifices, they never believed in me. Autumn's carefully constructed mask fell completely. It's not fair, she hissed. You get everything, the respect, the fancy title, the business. What about me? I'm stuck in a cubicle while you play hero in your precious clinic. There it was. The raw envy beneath the manipulation. The resentment beneath the charm. I closed my portfolio with a decisive snap and stood. I built everything I have while supporting this family emotionally and financially. I'm not playing at anything, and I'm done being invisible. I left exact change for my coffee on the table and walked away. Behind me, I heard Mom's quiet sobs, Dad's harsh whisper to Autumn, the scraping of chairs, but I didn't look back. For the first time in my life, I was moving forward without checking if they approved. The weight of their expectations fell from my shoulders with each step, and I walked into the sunlight standing taller than when I arrived. 1 year has passed since that fateful Sunday dinner. Now I stand at the picture window of my expanded clinic, watching the afternoon light paint golden highlights across the Denver skyline. The view before me mirrors the transformation within. Dr. Bennett, your 3 o'clock is ready. Melissa, my lead therapist, appears at my side, clipboard in hand. It's Mrs. Abernathy's final session. Perfect timing. I smile, a genuine warmth spreading through my chest. The waiting room bustles with activity, a stark contrast to the cramped space where I began. Patients sit in comfortable chairs beneath framed community service awards that have joined my original business license on the wall. The waiting list for new patients stretches 2 months out, a testament to the reputation we've built. Mrs. Abernathy, an elderly woman with bright eyes and a spine curved from decades of hard work, beams as I enter the treatment room. There she is, she announces to no one in particular, the miracle worker herself. I laugh, setting her chart aside. The miracle was your dedication to the home exercises. Nonsense, she waves a weathered hand. My grandson says you're the best in Denver, and that boy researches everything. As I guide Mrs. Abernathy through her final stretches, I catch my reflection in the treatment room mirror. The tight shoulders and defensive posture that once characterized my stance have softened. I stand taller now, grounded in my worth. Later, I welcome 3 new graduates to my mentorship program. They gather around the conference table, eyes bright with the same determination that once fueled my midnight study sessions. The most important thing I can teach you isn't a technique, I tell them, perching on the edge of the table, it's knowing your value. In this profession, you'll give constantly. Make sure what you're giving is respected. After they leave, I review the latest figures for our pro bono program serving underserved patients. The initiative now comprises 15% of our practice, a percentage that would have terrified me last year, but now fills me with purpose. My phone buzzes with a text from Leah, my closest friend and leader of our professional women's support group. Ready for tonight? Your turn to share. A flutter of nervousness dances through my stomach. Tonight marks the first time I'll publicly share my full journey, family struggles included. The thought both terrifies and liberates me. Before leaving, I check my personal email. Mom has sent photos of her volunteer work at the community garden, her 3rd message this week that doesn't demand anything from me. Small steps, but genuine ones. Dad's name remains absent from the sender list. Some wounds need more time than others. A separate email contains a job announcement from Autumn, her first position at a corporate office with no connection to my clinic. The message lacks her usual excessive exclamation points, a subtle sign of her growing independence. The evening sun casts long shadows as I arrive at Leah's home for our monthly dinner. Unlike my parents' dining room with its oppressive formality, this space hums with authentic conversation. My chosen family of colleagues and friends pass dishes family style, their laughter a healing balm. To Sierra, Melissa raises her glass. Who taught us all that standing your ground isn't selfish, it's necessary? As applause ripples around the table, I think of the scholarship I've established for PT students from challenging backgrounds, the boundary-setting workshop I'll lead next month, and tomorrow's launch of our specialized vestibular rehabilitation program. When dinner concludes, I step onto Leah's back porch. The mountains rise majestically against the horizon, steadfast and immovable, much like the boundaries I've learned to maintain. You look peaceful, Leah says, joining me. I breathe deeply. I finally understand that I can heal my patients without sacrificing myself in the process. Tomorrow, I'll treat an elderly man with the same care I once lavished on family members who took without gratitude. The difference is, he'll look me in the eye and say, "Thank you," and I'll know I've been seen. I'm Sierra Bennett. And I heal people who value the healing.